Marianne, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Mr. Woolridge, how is Mary?
She is doing fine. She is working hard, and I appreciate that.
Please send her my regards. She's a lovely, lovely lady.
Thank you. Thank you. I will do so. I definitely married up and she did not.
I fall in that same category. Looks like we have a house full today. While we're waiting on Sheila, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Marianne said we wouldn't get our checks if we didn't show up today. So here being December, we want to make sure we get our checks.
This looks like Thanksgiving at the Courtney house about 30 years ago. Danny? It's as if some cheap B movie, there's a monster in Danny's phone.
It's just an old guy trying to adjust the video.
I think several of us can sympathize with you there.
There you go.
Sheila, I don't know if you can hear me. You've got some folks also on Teams for some reason. I'm seeing that pop up on my screen that there's some folks on Teams. So you might check that out. I'm not sure why that's the case.
I'm working on that, Jason.
Okay.
I'm monitoring that room and encouraging them to leave, but I don't have access to my microphone and they're not reading their chat. So I've got 3 people left.
Okay.
Jason, I'm glad you said something about that because that's what happened to me. And I just thought, I'm turning into Danny Bozarth.
Yeah, I didn't know what Dan had up there on his screen for a second. I started to get a little concerned.
Dennis, just give us about 2 more minutes and then you can start, and I think we'll be fine with our quorum and all.
Just tell me when and I'll start her up.
And we'll let Buddy present after we get through with our minutes and all that. Buddy, if it's all right with you.
Okay, Dennis, I think we're ready.
Very good. I'll call to order this meeting of the West Kentucky Workforce Board, virtual meeting, December 2, 2022. First, Sheila, do we have a quorum? I'll take that as a
Yes.
yes.
Yes, we do.
Great. Thank you all for attending and for being patient with us this morning. Technology takes a little time, but it still beats driving to get to Ken Lake or Lake Barkley. First thing that we'll want to do is go over the West Kentucky Workforce Board meeting minutes from September 28, 2022. I think those will be in your packet. I trust you've all had a chance to review those minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the September 28 West Kentucky Workforce Board meeting minutes as presented.
Donnie, so move.
We have a motion for Donnie. A second?
Second. Pendergrass.
Oh, thank you. Got a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we're going to kind of jump out of the line just a little bit, but I'd like to welcome Buddy Hoskinson, Executive Director of the Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet. Director Hoskinson will discuss House Bill 4 and how this bill will affect the workforce.
Good morning. Thank you all for the invitation. And I too am thankful that I'm not driving all the way down to Western Kentucky, and technology is great when it works for us. So I appreciate you all inviting me. So I will tell you that as we start off with House Bill 4 and kind of doing a high level overview for you all today, we are starting, and literally I just jumped off of one training session with our staff, CDO staff, and some of our web partners across the state, and we'll continue doing that today and again on the 9th. So I'm kind of giving you a high level overview so you can kind of understand just a little bit about what's about to happen for Kentucky Office of Unemployment Insurance and for constituents, those people who live in your communities. So House Bill 4 was passed in the 2022 general session back on March 3rd and March 8th by both chambers of the House, and it really was derived probably more than anything out of the landscape of the pandemic. We can all agree to that this was really probably more about, as it was championed by the state chamber and championed by the supermajority party, was really to look to see if there were ways to increase workforce participation after the pandemic. But as we know, the pandemic was such an unusual time and period that we've never seen something like that before. So the governor vetoed this bill on the 9th of March, delivered to the governor on the 9th of March, vetoed on the 18th of March, and then back on the 21st and the 22nd, the General Assembly did an override, and that's where we find ourselves today. This bill, this law goes into effect, if you want to go to the next slide, as of January the 1st of 2023. And so let's talk about some of the high level things that are going to change. What's going to change is how many weeks someone is going to get benefits. For 80 plus years in Kentucky, we've had benefits available for 26 weeks. Going into the new law, the bill will only allow maximum 24 weeks, but the caveat here is now we are required by law twice a year, on January 1st of each year and July 1st of each year, to look at the state average unemployment rate as supplied to us by the United States Department Labor Bureau of Labor Statistics. So we can already tell you, going into January 1, looking at the rate that was already determined, if you want to go on to the next slide, that we are going to be at the 12th week of benefits. That is where we start out in on January the 1st. That is where everybody comes in at. So if they're a new claimant and they file on January the 1st, this is how many weeks they can get. Now, when we go back and look at in July of 23, on July 1st, we will go back and look at the previous 6 months in that look back, and that will determine. So I think as some media outlets have reported, what happens in January really was reflective back in previous 6 months, right? So if we were to go into a recession or something change, the individuals needing benefits. And let us go back to talk about just traditional benefits for a moment. Traditional benefits, not pandemic benefits, are those who need those benefits at no fault of their own that they've lost their employment, right? It's not a guaranteed program. It's at no fault of their own. If somebody was fired for cause, they're not eligible for those benefits. So now we're talking about taking somebody who is deemed eligible, potentially now 12 weeks is all they're going to get, and they're going to be looking back at. All of this information, by the way, we will be putting up on our website after our final training on the 9th of December, and we will be disseminating different formats of this information out to the webs and out to our partners, but on the website for our customers. And that's why it's so important that we've been kicking off training our staff members. But I do want to talk about something that is going to be different. So I always talk about that unemployment insurance claim is a snowflake. It's unique to the individual who filed. It may look similar to the neighbor who filed a claim, but it's only in regards to that individual. So there is going to be a tier system. So somebody who files or who's currently in the system could still be up to 26 weeks of benefits because they filed before January the 1st. If someone reopens an existing claim, they've opened that existing claim, they too could be eligible for up to 26 weeks. Someone new out of the gate, 12 weeks. When we look at the look back in July, we will see if it stays 12 weeks or could it go up to 13 or 14 weeks. Economists are already telling us by their projections that it would remain all of 23 in 12 weeks. Now, the other thing to know and remember, as unemployment insurance is not just an easy thing, someone is locked in to their weeks from the moment they file. So if the adjustment period changes and it goes up to 14 weeks, they are only eligible for the period in time in which it was filed. That needs to be noted. And again, that is a lot of awareness and education on the part of our staff to make sure that claimants understand when they come into the office or trying to understand, what do you mean I'm not eligible for this? That's what we were able to do. Again, the law has changed that for us moving forward. So could we go to the next slide? I want to talk about work searches a little bit on a high level. Currently, right now, individuals are required to do one work search per week that they're requesting benefits. It will now go to 5 work searches, and we go into very much depth what are 3 formal type of activities and what are 2 other activities of work search. So if the local area development district, the workforce board that you all oversee, decide to put on workshops for those seeking employment, then that would be an acceptable way for someone to show their application. They will attest and certify each week that information that they've done that. And so if you will go to the next slide for me. They are required to do this, and they're also required to keep the documentation for up to 1 year. At any time, we can audit any one of those participants who've been deemed eligible for unemployment. And if at any time for the week that we are auditing, they cannot produce the information that verifies what they did, then they can lose their benefits. That's important to know. The difference is we're going from 1 to 5. And the difference is the expectation is to understand we're not going to say every week that you have to upload the information and give it to us. First of all, we can't store all of that documentation, but we are going to make them attest and certify that they are doing this like we do at the beginning of a claim. When an individual files a claim at the very beginning, they have to acknowledge that they understand and have read our rights and responsibilities before that claim can go on. Each week when they go to certify and attest, it will let them know again that they have to make sure that they are providing us information that can be documented and can be verified if sought out in an audit. House Bill 4 requires that we audit and pull reports. We will be sending information back to the legislatures once a year on the audit and how many people pass and how many people failed. Could we go to the next slide, please? Suitable work. So suitable work, what is considered suitable? Okay. So here it goes into the caveat. As you remember, I said at the beginning of 2023, somebody will go into having 12 weeks if they filed on January the 1st. However, if they are offered a job that after 6 weeks, regardless if it's in their field, but it's something that they can do, if they are offered a job and they turn that down, again, they can lose benefits, but they're expected to take that job. That's 6 weeks. So that could actually cut the benefits down to 6 weeks. And it's within 30 miles of their home. So potentially where we see some things happening is employers, your fellow people in your community that have companies and work for individuals, hire someone, but it's not really the job they want, but they had to take it because they would lose benefits. And which way are they going to go? They're going to come on board. You all spend money every day onboarding people. There's a cost to you onboarding. Then somebody, as soon as they get a better job, what are they going to do? They're going to jump ship and go somewhere else. It's going to be a constant flux for small businesses and employers, unless you're paying them or it's something that they truly wanted to do. So I think that's important. Understanding that the claimant is able and qualified to perform the work, regardless of whether or not he or she has related experience or training, is the difference. Understand the intent that the state chamber and the legislatures are trying to do. They're trying to work up workforce participation. But I really believe, and we really believe, that you will see in a year's time, we will be asking employers, and you should be letting your legislatures know how this has happened. What is happening from this? Are you seeing more people come to you? Are you seeing people come out? Remember, we're at an all-time low unemployment rate. The unemployment rate during the pandemic is not the qualifier here. The qualifier here is, where do we stand at this moment? We are already down to that last little bit. So you're basically, employers are robbing Peter to pay Paul now, right? As we have new businesses and we have to cultivate those into the fields already. So what's going to happen in terms of people jumping ship? And I think that will be something that you all should keep an eye on in your region. Next slide, please. Work share program. I am excited about this. We've worked on this before, and the legislature did put this in the bill, and we did get it approved through the federal government to offer a work shared program. This allows us, if an employer wants to participate, allows them not to lay off a population that had been skilled workforce if they can follow the criteria, right? So they would then apply to the secretary. There's an application process. And as you see, there are what it allows the employers to do. What we're trying to say is, okay, you've got a good pool of workers, but right now you don't have the work needed. But if you lay them off for a long period of time, what's the likelihood that those workers could go somewhere else? Could you work with us and we could still provide benefits if you can supply keeping them on at a percentage? That's going to be important. And I think that is another way for workforce to stay intact. Next slide, please. Again, this just goes through some more criteria for you all. That application period for that employer is based on a 12-month period. If that employer gets denied out of the gate because they didn't complete the application process or did not meet all the standards, they can reapply within 15 days. So I think that's also important to note. Next slide, please. Work refusal. Work refusal has always existed for employers to be able to do and use. You can go into the employers tab underneath the kcc.ky.gov website now and do this. Here's the difference. Work refusal never, ever said somebody wasn't going to get benefits. What that did was create an issue. That issue then gets reviewed and worked to make sure it was valid. And then the potential was that somebody could lose those benefits. But an employer just saying somebody didn't show up for an interview or for the job didn't do it. We had to investigate on both parties. Still will have to moving forward. The difference here is an employer now will have to attest and certify that they're providing accurate and honest information. If they supply us information that's not accurate and honest, there will be a penalty against that employer. So that is something new. just to make sure that everybody is aware of. Next slide. Okay, here's the other one that gives the change for you all in a nutshell. And truly, I am doing this in a high level. So before, you have had the capability or the employer to establish a good reserve account 12 consecutive calendar quarters to do that. Now you're only given 4. That's what you're given. You're given 1 year's worth of time. That's been the change from the past to what you will see moving forward. Anything that was 12 is now 4. So that could mean possible higher rates because the company or the employer did not have enough time to show what they needed to for their reserve. So we will be watching this, and we hope that you all watch this as well. And you talk about this to your employers in your area to see if it's making a difference and what is possibly changing in the year to come. Where we think the biggest win on this is probably going to be with contract for construction businesses. That's probably where they're gonna gain the most, and that's where at this time of the year we see the most individuals coming through is in seasonal work. I will just again go back. I think we're to the end of the slide presentation, if I'm not mistaken. But I will just tell you that a couple of things that we're trying to do with staff. We're trying to train staff so that when a customer comes in and they are at a place where they need our services, that we're educating the customers both in person, on our website, in various ways of communication. We will be also having video links, FAQs, all of that stuff will be made available to the website and to our staff members, whether they are Career Development Office staff members or truly Unemployment Office staff members, so that we're all on the same page. The thing to remember is this bill changed, was passed in the 2022 session. Overwhelmingly, it went through. We know that the governor vetoed this. Now this is the landscape in which we live within. We know the biggest thing for customers is going to be that state average rate, unemployment rate. Right now, going into 23, especially the first 6 months, it's 12 weeks. If somebody were to be able to able to receive, let's say, 5 additional weeks for a training program that is authorized through you all in the local workforce, and they were able to get 5 additional weeks, but they are at the 20-week mark, they are only going to get 24 weeks. They will not receive the 5 full weeks. If the federal government, and we have triggers that do this from time to time, that offer us extension of extended benefits, enhanced benefits, no longer can we just do that by the triggering and meeting the standards of the statute. The secretary will have to go back to the legislatures and ask for permission to be able to turn on those extended benefits or enhanced programs, should we have enhanced programs in the future. We do not know yet how that will work in terms of when they're in session or out of session, waiting to work in all of those things through. But again, knowing that that will be a delay of services of those programs because we will have to wait and work out how that workflow looks. Also, again, the legislatures at any time with enhanced benefits can cancel those. And we saw that happened with many states that did that during the pandemic. And then the federal government told them they had to come back and turn it back on. We didn't do that. We kept them running to try to finish those out. So again, the legislatures will have that authority as far as turning those on according to House Bill 4. That's a very high level. Again, I want to thank you all for your time today. And if there, please know that we will follow up with FAQs after the 9th. I can try to answer anything that I provided you today if it's helpful to you at this moment.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Buddy?
Hey, buddy, this is Jason. Good to see you, by the way, and thanks for joining us. And you may have mentioned this under the work share program, but when we have a company that has a planned layoff for a certain amount of time, again, you may have said this under the work share program, do those individuals that draw these funds for that maybe if they're laid off for a month or 2 weeks or however that might be, do they have to meet those enhanced requirements that have been put in place?
They would not have to, you're asking basically about the job search, right? If they would have to
Yes.
go in and do that, much like we classify claimants now A, B.
Mhm.
And so if we know there's that return to work date and they fall into that claimant, that would remain the same for a period of time.
None of that changed.
None of that will change in that respect.
Okay.
Because what we use there is what is that return, and then we also know what that application is, especially if it's a work share program, with how we would work that through. Now, we'll tell you the work share program that will take a lot of promoting because it's new, and so we will be reaching out to all the ads to assist us with that because we want companies because we know it's a benefit to them to keep their workforce, and it's a benefit to that employee to know that they're going to end up returning back to somewhere that is safe for them, right? And that takes care of all their basic needs for their families. And ultimately, that's really a big help if we can, do that. But it will take all of you all to help us spread that word.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Buddy, it sounds like you really, you guys have your work cut out for you, and I don't envy you the task. It's going to be a transition.
It is, sir. And I will tell you that your great staff down in Western Kentucky that we work with every day help us be able, we're able to do good work because of all the WIBs across the Commonwealth. And we have good partners, and we've been challenged a lot in the past 3 years, right? We all know that, but this is just one more thing that we'll tackle. And together, hopefully we're all going to have that consistent message, and together we help our citizens because that's what our programs are for. And maybe even our legislatures understand that maybe we need to go back in and tweak some things so we can move this forward. Because I think we all agree, we want workforce to be strong, but we also want to help those when they need it the most.
Very good. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you all. You all have a good weekend.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to consideration of old business. Sissy Fox, direct services provider, will give an overview of the current workforce data.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the board packet on page 11, there's information on WIOA key performance indicators for the state of Kentucky and the West Kentucky workforce area. Pages 12 through 13 include work-ready community information for Christian and McCracken counties. There are 5 criteria communities must meet to be designated work-ready, which include internet availability and speeds of at least 25 megabytes per second, a 90% high school graduation rate, 25% of the working age population with an associate's degree or higher, 15% or less of the working age population without a high school diploma, and 43% of the working age population with some college. Then if you go on to page 14, there's a labor market snapshot that details unemployment information. As of October 2022, the national unemployment rate was 3.4%, the state rate was 3.9%, and the rate in Western Kentucky was 4.5%. In our local workforce area, there were approximately 158,500 individuals who were employed and 7,300 who were unemployed. Page 15 details unemployment rates by county from October 2021 through October 2022. Unless there are questions, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jesse. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, an overview of the financial information and report. Cindy Cummings, MIS Financial Coordinator, will present the financial report, give an overview of revenues and expenses, and present the OJT contract ratifications.
Good morning. In your board packet on pages 16 and 17 is the financial report for the West Kentucky Workforce Board for period ending November the 30th, 2022. Available funds are $5,711,273.68. And we have received the October allocation for both adult and dislocated worker funds. And we've also received our trade funds for the current year for our training obligations and our trade case management funds as well. Expenditures to date are $1,430,618.45. If there are not any questions, this concludes my report. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Hey,
Before we
Dennis,
move,
Sheila would like to know, would you like to move on to Dr. East, sorry.
yeah, Dr. East, if you would like to, I will introduce you. Dr. Tonica East, who is the director of the Lifelong Learning Branch with the Office of Adult Education, will discuss Senate Bill 90 and the role the Workforce Board will play in the behavioral conditional dismissal program.
Thank you, Chairman Courtney. I think Cindy has my slides. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with this group. I too, like Executive Director Hoskins, left a workforce community review meeting prior to this. I just jumped on board with that committee. So we are going back to back here with these Friday meetings. So I'll usually jump in the state car and drive, but I'm glad I could just be here at the office today in Frankfort. That is my contact information. I'm the director of the Lifelong Learning Branch here in Frankfort with the Kentucky Office of Adult Education. This is a new branch that was derived under Commissioner Price with the intent to kind of intertwine all of the 5 branches that we have here with KYAE. Next slide. This August, Chief Justice Minton identified the 11 pilot counties based on need, resources. We had some we've asked for demographical data based on how these counties were identified, but AOC started some community forums in the area, and I don't know if any of you guys were able to attend some of those meetings, but there are, in your particular area, there are 2 meetings left, one in Greenup County, but then Christian County, and that is December 15th from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. That will be at Christian County Justice Center, address 100 Justice Way, Hopkinsville, Kentucky. We just had a meeting on Wednesday, and this will be more of a progressive rollout. And as you know, with a pilot, I feel like we're driving the plane while flying. We've had several implementation meetings to pull our partners together, but they are going to start with the rollout of Kenton County and Letcher County with January 1. And then we have the expectation to do the next phase rollout, maybe in April or March. But the design of the behavior conditional program are those nonviolent misdemeanor cases and Class D felonies. And the goal really is to reduce recidivism. But it does have a big component as far as adult education, vocational assessments, transportation, recovery housing, along with the mental health component. So those particular participants will be referred to the program by the county or Commonwealth attorney. So my team and I think I have one of my colleagues, we are now a team of 4. At that time, we were a team of 2, just kind of hit the road and just started making these relationships with some of our judges, county, Commonwealth attorney. We have 26 local provider networks. You can go to the next slide. Within the Office of Adult Education. So within these respective counties, we reached out to our KWIB providers, our KCCs, vocational rehabilitation. We are bringing them to the table as far as workforce development is concerned, because it is going to take a collaborative team approach to pull this off. And for the duration of the program, it cannot go past the sentencing. But the goal and the carrot that we're going to dangle is, of course, expungement. But we think it'll be most beneficial for the population with Senate Bill 90. And it has been identified, I believe my counties for the West Kentucky region, Christian, Hopkins, McCracken. Is that correct for this particular region, for West Kentucky region?
Yes, ma'am.
I know I've been looking at so many maps. It has been a huge transition, but it's been a great one. Next slide. This is a little bit kind of a high level approach to how we'll look at this particular roadmap. You will see that it will go really, really fast with the reporting piece. Once they are identified, AOC is looking to hire 12 case management navigators who will kind of push this along and be the point of contact and go alongside that participant. But go to the next slide. The reporting piece, you'll see, will start really, really fast. Within 72 hours, pre-trial will complete that behavioral assessment. That behavioral assessment will then identify if they're eligible to qualify for this program with the referral. Then for us in adult education, we will then notify our local provider network directors and then complete a vocational employment individualized development plan that will go from start to finish, even though they haven't told us what will be concurrent or consecutive. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, even with a launch date of January 1. But really think this could turn around. That recidivism rate right now is 29%. And to make our reentry population back to productive citizens in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Next slide. We'll talk about this team approach a lot. You'll see that it's KYAE, the Commonwealth Attorney, AOC, Medicaid, Medicare, DOC, our workforce investment partners, in case those are identified with disabilities. Within the system, we'll make that referral and handoff. So really for the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board, will be heavily populated. Our ask to you guys is that there is a component to have an assessor list of employers. So opposed to us looking for particular employers in your region to hire this particular clientele, we use KWIB, not KWIB, KIBES. KIBES is the system. KIBES is the system to get those particular database. So we will be leaning on you guys. And as soon as you are identified, we'll have another community meeting to say, this is what the process looks like. We were looking to AOC to have some type of MIS or LMS system, but we're going to go with the manual process thus far. But I know if you have not had the familiarity of reading Senate Bill 90, even if you have, you'll find those loopholes, but we are very optimistic into the changes that we can make going forward with this particular bill. I know I didn't have a lot of time. I kept it short. Cindy told me only 10 minutes. I know I stand between some of you and lunch, and I did not want to be intrusive or impose on that time, Chairman Courtney, but I definitely will open the floor up to see if there are any questions, if I could potentially solve those. But looking forward to working with you guys in the Western region of the Commonwealth.
Thank
Dr.
you, Dr.
East.
East.
Dr. East, this is Sheila Clark. I just wanted to thank you. I know that Dennis just said that, but one of the things that we found, there hasn't really been an emphasis on trying to mention the partners in the Career Center yet. And of course, our partners are already there. You mentioned vocational rehabilitation, assistance with those that had special needs there. And we've talked about trying to take our WIOA staff and direct them to more of the services and needs of those individuals that are coming out of incarceration. And some of those points, and Karen Wallace of our staff already works with many of those officers of the courts and some of the counties that are involved in this. And as you mentioned, we have 3 of the 11 pilot programs in our area: McCracken, Christian, and Hopkins. So we're very interested. We have had multiple staff attend all the events so far, and we have staff that are planning to be in Christian County when they meet. But I just wanted to mention that to you and clarify that to some of the others on the call. Thank you,
Sheila. We went to McCracken and attended the Kentucky criminal justice reform back in October, and my colleague and I, Laura Wolfram, is on the call. We were really, really surprised with Attorney Dan. He had the media. That was the first time we had the media brought out, but we were able to meet with the assistant county Commonwealth attorneys, the jailers, the KCCs at that particular event. And ironically, it was October 27th. And we received this list that AOC already had these community forums going aboard. So we just trying to, like you said, we're established. We're in these areas. We just have to now start speaking the same language. Because if we work together, collaborative, we can definitely move the needle. So I'm going to be yielding to you, Sheila, to your team to kind of bring us together. What we've talked about was kind of doing a cohort with each county, because I think you're right. You have a heavy uplift with the service in 3 of the 11 counties. They pulled back talking about an election year that took place, transition with judges, county and Commonwealth attorneys, and decided to do those more established that didn't have any transition with executive boards and things like that. Well, we will be making our way down there. We won't be at Christian County on the 12th, on the 15th, because we have quarterly meetings here, but I'll be making my way from Frankfort really soon to Hopkinsville.
Dr. East, thank you very much. And it's good to see that the media is helping spread the good work that
yes,
you do.
Yes.
Election year, huh? Okay. Hopefully there'll continue to be more media even after election news.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Okay, moving back to our consideration of old business, we heard Cindy's report on the OJT contract ratifications. We need a motion to ratify those.
We haven't done that one yet.
We haven't done that one yet. Well, maybe I'm just reading ahead and daydreaming.
So I will continue on.
Please
We'll
do.
back up just a little bit. So in your packet on pages 18 through 21 is the West Kentucky Workforce Board's financial information for fiscal years 19, 20, and 21. This information, along with additional information, will be presented on December the 7th, 2022 via Zoom at the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board Metrics Budget Presentation Meeting. Also, the CABE Web Metrics Subcommittee requested funding information of all workforce boards across the state for all workforce development program dollars, training and education dollars, and education partner workforce development initiatives for the 3 years mentioned. This information was submitted via Google form. I won't go over detail over all the pages, but on page 18 is an overview of the funding source and the expenditures for those 3 fiscal years. And then the following 3 pages are expenditures for 19, 20, and 21 for all the funding sources that we had for those 3 years. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Any questions for Cindy?
Thank you. I'll continue to OJT ratifications.
Yes, ma'am.
If you refer to your packet on page 22, you will find the current on-the-job training ratifications for approval. Currently, there are 10 active individuals working on completing their on-the-job training contracts and 24 contracts which have been completed. There are 21 companies who have master agreements with the West Kentucky Workforce Board. The average hourly wage is $16.74 per hour. And if there are not any questions, Chair Courtney, I will need a motion to approve.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Motion? Chris?
Motion, Wayne Belanger.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Anything else, Cindy? I'll take that as a no. Next, we will go to item C, consideration of policy updates. Tammy Hyde, Data Program Specialist, will present the policy updates for consideration, and there'll be a motion needed thereafter.
Good morning. In your packets on pages 23 through 28 are copies of the updates of what we're going to be looking at today. And we just put individual pages in there for this section, but the full policies were emailed out to you earlier this week. So you should have them if you want to see the full policy. We only made a few minor changes to make some updates for clarification where our monitors were concerned. In the follow-up policy, we are changing the wording from monthly follow-up for 12 months is being updated to at a minimum quarterly follow-up for 12 months. It means the same thing, but sometimes the clarity makes a difference for whoever else might be reading this. The update on the adult policy is on page 12 of the full policy, but the single page is included in your packet. We changed the wording from procedures for monitoring attendance on the letter A section. We removed at a minimum monthly. We will still be doing monthly follow-up, but there are times whenever our customers do not respond to us the same month. It might be a day or two after the month, and we want to make sure that we are in compliance with what we are doing. And then the same thing for the dislocated worker policy. It's the same same page, and it's on page 12 of the dislocated worker policy, and that single sheet is included in your board packet. There we are also changing the words procedures for monitoring attendance, letter A will be removed, and it will just say at a minimum monthly. So we do need approval for these changes.
Thank you, Tammy. Does anyone have any questions for her? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Have a motion.
Second.
We have a couple seconds. We've got those noted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next, we'll move on to item D, recognition of the Career Center certifications. I'm pleased to report that on November 10, the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board met and reviewed the Breathitt and Paducah Career Centers applications for certification. The KWIB concurred with West Kentucky Workforce Board and the certification team and have awarded the Breathitt Center, the Career Center, and the Paducah Career Center certifications. This certification would not have been possible without all the hard work from partners, staff, and the certification team. If any of you had a part in the process of obtaining this certification, please raise your hand to be recognized by the board. Or turn your video. If you don't want to turn your video on, that's fine too. Just raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you. The board, as a body politic, the entity itself, and me personally, thank you all a lot for doing that. That wasn't easy. That wasn't quick. That took work. That took time. And we really appreciate it. And congratulations for accomplishing that. Moving on to the consideration of other old business, Tammy will give us an update on performance.
Just a quick note back on the policy piece. I'm not sure if I said this or not, but we did make these updates as a result of our recent monitoring. We do not have the final in yet. Once we do, we will report that to the board. We are trying to keep in line with what our state monitors and auditors are looking for and make sure that what we are saying to our staff is clear, not only to them, but to the monitors or anyone else who might be reading that. In your packets on page 29, we will talk about performance. We recently received our quarterly performance. As you all know, performance for a year ago is a long way out. And, you know, we're trying to make plans for what we're going to do today based on what happened a year ago and how those customers exited and what that looks like. So we've received our first quarterly report performance. The time frame for that is July 1 of 2021 through September 30th of 2021. And looking at your packet, I won't go over each one individually, but as a summary for it, you can see that our measurable skill gains are low in each area. That is because we do not get our full result of measurable skill gain until the end of the year because they have a year to complete that. The ones who are showing are probably the ones who've completed an OJT on the job training contract or someone who's completed a short-term training such as a CDL, phlebotomy, CNA, something like that. We record those as we receive them, and so they are reflected in our quarterly reports. But then the overall encompassing piece is whenever we get our annual report and we see that each of our customers have met their goals for the year, and that's when those are recorded. And looking in your packet there, you'll see that 78.8% of the adults that exited during that first quarter were working when they exited. And 75% of those that exited also had received a nationally recognized credential. Same for dislocated workers. 90% of the dislocated workers were working when they exited. And 92.3% of those working had received credentials. And we do have up to a year to receive credentials, and that's why you'll see that number fluctuate as we go out. And then our youth, 100% of our youth were either employed or placed in post-secondary education whenever they exited during that first quarter. Our youth number is similar to the measurable skill gain. The influx of our number shows at the end of the year because our youth programs typically run July 1 to June 30, and we try to serve them during that year and get them out during that same year as they're moving along and get their education and get their employment and their work ready skills and those types of things. In addition to that, you can also see that 78.1% of the customers receiving only Wagner Pizer services were employed, and the median wage for that group was $7,516. Wagner Pizer services are provided throughout the Career Center. Most all staff in the center can provide this type of service, but what that is someone who's coming in looking for a job, and someone in the Career Center has helped them do job search, build their resume, do those types of things. And as a result of that, they have gotten a job. And if there are no questions, that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Does anyone have any questions for Tammy on the performance measures? Hearing none, we'll move on to the update on youth programs. Sissy Fox and Molly Deal will give an update on those programs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 31, you will find information about our 2022-23 WIOA youth program providers. We have 4 youth providers, 1 in-school youth provider and 3 out-of-school youth providers. Christian County Board of Education is our in-school youth provider. They're contracted to serve 20 youth, and they currently have enrolled 20 youth. So they have 100% of their customers enrolled. For Hopkinsville Community College, we contract with them to serve 15 youth. They currently have 9 enrolled, so they are 60% enrolled. And at Madisonville Community College, they are contracted to serve 25 youth. They currently have 16 enrolled for a percentage enrolled of 64%. And finally, West Kentucky Community and Technical College, we contract with them for to serve 25 youth. They've currently enrolled 16 youth for a percentage of 64% enrolled.
Thank you, Sissy.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As you can see, the current number of enrollments for work-based learning activities is fairly low. We need those numbers to be at 40%, but there's still time to get these numbers up, which is why we thought it was important for you all to be aware of different opportunities to partner with these contractors. I actually just had a meeting this week with the city of Madisonville and Tammy Hardy, who is the contractor for MCC, to talk about this topic. We can create work experience opportunities for young adults in these contractors programs where they're paid and then covered by workers' comp through the youth contractor. So there's no stress on the employer. The employer gets to try them out, and if they want to hire them, we can then roll the individuals into an on-the-job training contract where the employer gets money back. Local government is a great option because there's so many different departments where the youth can be placed and try different things. But we would also like to get some of our local manufacturers and business and industry involved as well. So if you're interested, we encourage you to reach out to Tom, Marianne, or myself, and we can coordinate those opportunities with the appropriate youth contractor. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for either Sissy or Molly? Hearing none, is there any other old business? Okay, I'm going to move on. We're already talked about the legislative updates, so we'll move on to item B, the report from the business services teams and veterans transition efforts. Business liaisons Tom Scholler, Molly Deal, and Marianne Medlock will give their reports. Then we'll hear from Veterans Transition Liaison Derek Moore. Mr. Scholler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one question direct to you. Have you read all those books behind you?
Every last one of them.
Okay. Want to report real quick on some activities that the staff here has been involved in along with myself. First of all, I want to report about the huge announcement in Christian County recently of Cinda Elements Apex 1, which had a groundbreaking in October, the end of October. It was initially, when it was landed by economic development here in the group, is initially said it was going to be a $400 million project with 250 jobs. Well, prior to them breaking ground, about 2 days prior to that, they received 2 federal grants for the electric vehicle manufacturing facilities. And it went from a $400 million project to a $1 billion project overnight, and from 250 jobs to 400 jobs. They have had a groundbreaking, and currently I am working with them. They've already sent 1 job posting for a position, and they have not really even started construction. They plan to be up and operating by 2024. Participated also with several other new projects that Southwest Economic Development and Carter Hendricks and his team. And I really want to thank Carter and his team for allowing Derek and myself to sit at the table with these companies and prospective industries that are looking to locate in our area, because I think it's very valuable that our team have seats at the table, and he's allowed us to do that. And it's been very beneficial to us and to the companies and to the EDC as far as that goes. Also working with some new companies that have already announced, one being Load Covering Solutions in Cadiz. I want to mention that Ernie Baker, a citizen of Tree County and longtime worker in manufacturing in Tree County and plant manager at several locations down there, has been recently named as a plant manager for that new facility. They're beginning to get up and off the ground as far as hopefully starting the process of bringing their employees on board. We have reached out to Ernie and answered some questions for him, got him directed some right directions for some training incentives to the community college. But also we're going to work with Ernie and helping him and assisting in landing his employees, either with the in-house job fair at his facility or whatever we need to do. Same thing with Devlin, which is just recently announced and located in Todd County, in an existing building up there. Been working with them. In fact, I just did some emails with them this morning prior to this meeting. Have executed a new OJT contract, have that paperwork in the process, and hopefully they replied back to me that they'll be onboarding new employees within the next 10 days to 2 weeks. So hopefully we'll have some new OJTs come from that. Also, Elevate Windows recently purchased the spec building in Christian County. They hope to be up and running by April of 2023 with 200 plus employees. Expecting some job orders from them very soon. Have been in contact with them. Other events that I've been working in along with staff, and I want to mention Tree County. I want to thank Tammy Hyde for filling in for me on Wednesday and going to the groundbreaking of the spec building in Tree County. Could not attend that event due to not being able to go. And Tammy was nice enough to step in and go, and I really appreciate her going down. Hopefully you didn't get too cold down there that day. We have been participating in monthly meetings, as we always do, with PIMA, which is Pineron Industrial Manager Association, in which, by the way, I'm the speaker next month, or this month on the 8th, if you're inclined to come. We appreciate you being there. And also we all participate in the SHRM meetings as we normally do. Dates that you might want to put on your calendar for 2023. These have already been cemented and ready to go. One is March 8th, which is a regional entrepreneur conference, which is held at Hopkins College. The event has not been held the past 2 years, but it is, I don't know what that sound is, but it is being held in 2023. It's free to anyone who wants to register and come.
Thank you.
There will be more information available online shortly. And then two other events I want to mention. April 20th is the second annual Tree County Job Fair, working with the chamber down there and getting that set up.
Well, which is available. We just had a water leak in our front yard, and
you may want to, Annette, you may want to mute your.
Exactly. We've had a rough couple of weeks.
Okay. The other date is April 27th, and it's the second annual Job Fest, which will be held in Christian County at the Sportsplex. And this event is aimed at high school seniors that are wanting to enter the workforce and not go into a 4-year training or education and or into the military. I do want to bring your attention to a situation that is concerning me a little with on-the-job training contracts. If you looked at the numbers in the recent report that was given, the numbers are down a little. And I know Eugenia Davis, who does the eligibilities in our area, is having difficulties with individuals once they schedule their appointment, not showing up. Or they come in and do the eligibility and get certified for an OJT, and then they don't show up to the company once they've been hired. We've had it happen several times in the past few weeks, and I know it's a trend that the manufacturers are really having a hard time with, because they spend the time and effort to onboard these individuals. And it's just a trend that I don't like seeing, and hopefully we can get around that. we're looking at seeing what we can do about that. Last but not least, I want to call your attention, Seymour Milling Company here in Hopkinsville is going to be featured on Fox Business Network on December 5th at 7 o'clock. Seymour Milling is a facility that's been located here in Hopkinsville for a few years, but Mike Rowe, I think most people know who Mike Rowe is, has been in Hopkinsville and has done a feature. It's going to be a 1 hour long presentation. I wanted to mention that because Seymour Milling is a unique facility here in town, and Mary Gleason, their plant manager, excuse me, Mary is a dedicated person to not only to our company, but to this community, and works tirelessly in this community. So just want to mention that. If you get a chance, you might look at that. Subject to any other questions, I'll pass it on to Molly.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. We've had a few busy months in my neck of the woods. We had the Hopkins County Job Expo, Muhlenberg Expungement Event, and then Muhlenberg Job Fair back to back to back. They went well. As far as the Muhlenberg Expungement Event, we had 41 participants eligible for expungement, and their certificate request fee was graciously covered by the Felix Martin Foundation. So we're planning on making that an annual event in Muhlenberg, and I'm going to be asking the appropriate parties in Crittenden and Livingston counties if there's a need for similar events there. Had a phone conversation this week with Amanda Davenport, who's the director for Lake Barkley Partnership, and we're going to be meeting soon to discuss some activities in Crittenden County. Also had a conversation with an employer who is thinking of developing a satellite location in Muhlenberg County, and that would create 30 to 50 new jobs. So I was telling her about what we do as a board, our services, and then on the job training services that help them as they're onboarding new folks. Another excitement announcement for Muhlenberg is that Double D's Food Group will be coming to Muhlenberg County. This is a $41 million investment, creating up to 200 new jobs in the first 2 years. So be on the lookout for more information on that coming soon. The Lisman Workforce Complex is officially open for business in Webster County. It's actually at the former Dotiki site, and it houses MCC's lineman program, CDL program, and then the new diesel mechanic program. I attended the ribbon cutting a few months ago, and it was definitely a sight to see. I don't think Dr. Kelly is on here, but I think Mike Davenport from MCC is. Mike, did you want to talk briefly about these programs?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
sir.
Wow, it does work sometimes. Very briefly, I'll just give you a recap since we've opened that site up in March. That was our first lineman class since we moved down there. And we had 3 classes. We're finished for till 2023. We'll have another set of 3 classes in 2023, but the 3 classes that we had down there this year, we had 46 graduates out of those 3 classes. Each of the graduates also received CDL license. And as far as we know, I would say probably all but maybe 6 of those graduates already have jobs and working. That program is, we moved the program down there because we wanted to increase the class sizes, and we're in the process of doing that. A couple of challenges with that. One is getting second instructors. For safety reasons, you really shouldn't have more than 12 to 16 students per each instructor. So we're right at that number now. We do have a second instructor, but we're losing our primary instructor who's doing the training, what we call train the trainer. We've interviewed a couple of gentlemen who are interested in, but we have yet to land that permanent second instructor. So as soon as we get that, we'll be bumping the enrollment numbers up into the mid-20s, and then hopefully hit our ultimate goal because we moved down there, and that is have 30 in a class. We're just going to have to proceed as we get instruction. Another challenge is supply chain. It's a mess right now because we have the stuff that we order was on a 60-day notice. Now it's on a 5 months. So it's getting very difficult to get the equipment, the right amount of equipment in for each of the students. We were able to work with certain companies around the area for the last class because we were on that 60-day notice, and the companies that sending us the material were on the 5-month notice. So we didn't get it in on time, but the companies around, utility companies, helped us out with that. So we got that last class in. We should be okay because now we're on the 5-month notice and we're working with them. Other than that, it's a great facility. If you ever get a chance, come down. Gates open. We'd love to have you come down and see it. Most people don't really realize what we're doing down there until they get down there and they realize it is one super program. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
I have good news about the Career Center in Madisonville. We are moving to a new location close to downtown. The city of Madisonville has been fantastic to work with, and they're currently putting up walls for us and making everything functional for us to move in, hopefully around the first of the year. So we're excited about this new location and getting some additional traffic in. And I'd like to let Sissy Fox add anything extra that she wanted to say about that.
Staff are really excited about moving to the new location. We feel it's going to be more centrally located, and hopefully we'll have more customers come in and be able to provide services. So we are definitely looking forward to being in the new space and seeing additional customers.
Thanks, Sissy. We have a few events coming up in January in Hopkins County. The first being Employer Day. This is actually going to be at the UK College of Engineering campus in Paducah on January 18th. I've invited local manufacturers who have the need for mechanical and chemical engineers to come and present to the students, and then they're going to have an opportunity to talk with the students more in depth afterwards about their company and then the current opportunities they have available. We also have an Exploration Expo at the Hopkins County Career and Tech Center coming up on January 23rd. This is where we invite local businesses and industry to come and connect to those students from the local high schools and talk to them about open opportunities. I am also continuing to work with Derek Poor, who you're going to hear from in a few minutes. He's our veteran transition liaison. We recently had a cohort from Heroes Make America come to Madisonville, and we toured Berry Global, Alstom, and GE Aviation. GE Aviation has also reached out to Derek and I. They're wanting to create a pipeline from Fort Campbell to fill internal leadership positions. They're having a really hard time filling these particular leadership type roles. And they know that veterans have the work ethic and the natural leadership style to move into these types of roles seamlessly. So Derek is working on getting the appropriate parties together to discuss this in more detail. Please reach out to him if you're wanting to get involved at Fort Campbell. I promise you, you will find it well worth it. And that's all I have, and I will let Marianne go from here.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I have just a short report this morning, but I do have a couple of points I will expand upon. A few weeks ago, we had a job fair in Graves County, where we also invited organizations involved in tornado recovery relief. The job fair, we had a really great time that day. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of job seekers. But what happened more importantly, I think, is that the employers had an opportunity to network with each other. They seemed to have a grand time talking to individuals that they normally don't get to talk to. And they also had an opportunity to really have some time with our workforce partners where we talked about OJTs, youth work experiences, and incumbent worker training through Workforce Solutions, in addition to our Kentucky Career Center programs. The thing that surprised me, whenever you've got a job fair and there's not a lot of people there, employers get antsy. These folks did not. They stayed with us practically all the way to the end because they found that they were having a good time. Plus, they were also finding information that was valuable to them. I had several emails from employers who reported the fact that, they felt sorry for me because people didn't show up. That's what I thought was interesting. They were like, "Oh, Marianne, we know how hard the workforce board works on these things, and it's, it's okay. We learned something anyway." So I thought that was really interesting. So I want to talk a little bit about OJT. We mention it a lot. It's something that's really important to what Tom and Molly and I do. It's our primary job. So I'm going to talk to you in terms of a new contract that I have. So a few weeks ago, probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago, I had a phone call from Computer Services Incorporated in Paducah. They had been talking to the Economic Development Director there in Paducah, Bruce Wilcox, and he referred them to me. He's like, this sounds like some issues that the Workforce Board can address for you. So why don't you call Marianne? So they called, and I had the opportunity to meet with them. And in that meeting, I walked away with 6 action items. Some of it was referrals. Some of it was, sending individuals to them for a position that they were creating. But one of the things that was really interested is that CSI is actually a national company. They have locations across the country. So among my action items, I referred them to 3 other local workforce boards, one in Texas, one in Oklahoma, and one in Indiana. So that way they could begin those similar services that we were going to be doing. One of the things they wanted was assistance in trying to fill a position that they were looking to create. They'd had 10 positions that they wanted to fill, and then we had about 60 days to do that. I went to the information I had from the job fair in Paducah, and I found individuals who indicated that they were interested in a career in what CSI does. I sent them about 40 names. They contacted them. We sent information to all the workforce partners. We also did a social media campaign. They did a social media campaign. And we met the 10 positions. They were able to fill the 10 positions. But in addition, they learned that by working with the Workforce Board and having the eligibility for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, 3 of the individuals that they were to hire qualified for OJT services, which is where we reimburse that employer for the time and the effort that they are doing to train that individual to be successful in the job they've hired them for. These are individuals specifically were low-income adults. Some of them had been underemployed or unemployed. So they qualified for our program, and now we are going to be reimbursing them through a specific training period. Most of these folks are going to average around 600 hours of OJT hours. Now, here's the interesting part. These low-income adults are now in a position where they are earning $21.63 an hour. That's a big jump. Now, we can't go that far in terms of our OJT reimbursement. We reimburse at the average of a ceiling of $19.25 based on what our policies are. CSI is thrilled. So now they are looking to invest in incumbent worker training through West Kentucky Community Technical College's Workforce Solutions to be able to buy incumbent worker training that will help strengthen their new team in addition to the teams that work with that new group, because so many of them they weren't skilled in the things that typically CSI hires. We also introduced them to Team Launch with WKCTC, the youth program, so that way we can develop some work-based learning opportunities for them. So we're real excited about this contract because of the potential that it will provide them and us to be able to address workforce issues, challenges in a company we've never worked with before. So we're real excited about that contract. And that's how OJTs work. It's a partnership of the employer as well as the Workforce Board to train an individual. And it's going to be life-changing for these individuals. Back in October, the University of Kentucky, the Paducah College of Engineering site campus, they had an open house of their brand new makerspace. Now, makerspaces are They are the buzzword these days, creating a makerspace. But what they did is they've worked with the local high schools and Sprocket and other areas to make sure that what they had wasn't already available in the community, and specifically what their students will need to learn to use once they're in the workplace. So they celebrated the opening of their makerspace, and they shared some statistics that I want to share with you. So the UK College of the UK Paducah campus will soon celebrate 25 years in our region, training students for engineering programs. They have had over 500 students graduate from UK Paducah with an estimated direct economic impact in our region of $25 million annually. 100 of their students have studied and received their master's or their PhDs. 90% of their students participate in work-based learning. They do some type of apprenticeship or co-op. And most importantly, greater than 40% of their students are first generation. They're the first one in their families to have attended college. So that it's literally changing our local communities. And when students choose UK College of Engineering over going to UK in Lexington, they report that they want to be in our region. They don't want to leave. And for most of us who have been in community development, we understand how important that is, because our region suffers from brain drain. But these kids want to stay here. I thought that was really interesting. They have also added 3 certificates. There are 2 programs that they teach there are chemical engineering and mechanical engineering. But they've added 3 new certificates in aerospace, and they have received 10 research grants for aerospace, auto production, and environmental engineering. And so we'll be seeing a lot more with UK College of Engineering in 2023, and I encourage you all to participate in those celebration events. Lastly, I want to share that Fulton County has been designated a part of the President's new Rural Partners Network. It is a distressed county in Kentucky, and it was one of 2 counties in Kentucky that were selected for this program, where they are working hand in hand with the USDA and along with the other state or the other federal partners to be able to address community development, infrastructure, and workforce. So over the next couple of years, they are going to be working with each of these federal agencies to make sure that they are accessing federal dollars to be able to impact their community. Fulton County was one of 2 of counties that were selected in Kentucky, but also within the Delta Regional Authority. So I am a part of that group that is meeting with USDA and the other federal partners, and they are planning some very interesting projects that they want to pursue with this opportunity. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will conclude my report unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, all 3 of you. I guess we're ready for Derek now. Is Derek ready for us?
Oh, good question. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. You don't have to see me. You can hear me. That's perfect. It makes me nervous when everybody's looking at me. All right, get started with a joke real quick. Happy you saved the best for last, like Vanessa Williams used to say. Not me, but turn to the last page in your packet, and you'll see the save the date event flyer for the upcoming Fort Campbell Job Fair series of events 2023. So get that out of the way. Since our last board meeting in September, I've continued to visit the Fort Campbell Transition Assistance Program office each Wednesday and Thursday as my schedule allows. In addition to the Wednesday, Thursday events, I continue working with our friends at the USO Pathfinder office and the Career Skills Staff office in support of those service members in need of additional transition assistance. I did attend the Fort Campbell 2-day job fair in October 18th and 19th, where I met with several transitioning service members and spouses and spoke to them about the opportunities in our region. was very pleased to see a number of our West Kentucky companies in attendance as well. On the evening of the 18th, job fair employers, job seekers, and local businesses met at the Hopkinsville Brewing Company for the Military Community Networking event hosted by the Hiring Our Heroes Military Spouse Professional Network and the West Kentucky Workforce Board. The event space was donated by the veteran-owned Hopkinsville Brewing Company, while veteran-owned food trucks supplied everyone with snacks between drinks and conversation, in an effort to make it a for veterans by veterans event. A number of state and local representatives showed support, to include members of the West Kentucky Workforce staff, Ann Fugate, Director for Fort Campbell Transition Assistance, Taylor Hayes, CEO of Christian County Chamber of Commerce, and Danetta Hockey, Kentucky Director for Veterans Employment and Training Services. Danetta also visited the 160th SOAR General Brown compound with Wendy Harrison, the Tennessee Director for Veterans Employment and Training Services, on October 19th. During the visit, Danetta, Wendy, and I were able to meet with Regiment Command Sergeant Major, who provided us with a short tour of the compound and introduced us to the unit's transition team, who spoke about the quality and character of individuals separating from the organization. Recently, I joined the Heroes Make America Military to Manufacturing Career Skills Program students during a facility tour and visit with T-Gask and White Drive Products here in Hopkinsville, Berry Global, Alstrom-Munchka, and GE Aviation in Madisonville. Each of these occasions provides opportunity for the members and leaders of the community to engage with, share, and ask questions about the soldiers' goals and expectations for post-military service. During the Madisonville trip, Mayor Cotton joined the tour for lunch and a quick car tour of the city. I really wasn't sure if he's going to bring them back or keep them locked up in a dungeon or in his office somewhere until he found everybody a house and or a job. He's pretty passionate about it, but all joking aside, I do appreciate Mayor Cotton for sharing his valuable time during each engagement we have, whether it's on post or off. These tours do provide great opportunity for the service members interested in staying in our local area with a behind-the-scenes look at what daily operations are like, while allowing them to ask questions and engage with the staff. Unfortunately, the program has been put on pause for a short period of time while the leadership works through a number of administrative and personnel matters. With that said, there are ongoing discussions about the process to restart the program sometime in the very near future. When that time comes, I will be reaching out to our business liaisons and community partners to assist in coordinating additional tours in the area. Moving forward and looking forward into 2023, I'm very excited about the discussions and upcoming efforts in development in order to support and assist placing more of our Fort Campbell veterans in our community. Should anybody have any questions, I'm happy to field those. Beyond that, that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Derek. Does anyone have any questions for Derek? Thank you to all our liaisons. Y'all do a great job. Really look forward to your reports at each meeting. Thank you so much. Moving on to the consideration of other new business. Sheila will update the board on upcoming events.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The calendar of events is the next to the last thing in your packet. You'll see a list of several activities there coming up. One thing I did want to mention was in December, we'll have the opportunity as directors to meet with Secretary Link and Deputy Secretary Brinley and talk about some of the things statewide that we would like to highlight, put more emphasis on, and then some things that we'd like to change. And we're going to graciously, from their point, we're going to have a whole afternoon of their time. When you think about the fact that you've asked a secretary and his deputy to spend a half a day with you, that's great. Normally, Secretary Link is at meetings where his staff would be talking to us and presenting things. And of course, that elevates those conversations to a higher level, and we appreciate that time and effort that he spends with us. Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention is if you skip to the second page at the top, you'll see that the SETA Employment and Training Conference is scheduled to be in Memphis, Tennessee in March. They've already opened up the housing there with the hotel. I think it's at the Peabody there. And if you're interested in going, would like to go, and you're a board member, we'll need to make a motion for that. If you're not on the executive committee, but talk to Cindy Massey and she can give you the details on that. But as we laugh and say, that's a closer trip than some of the other places that we go by far, plus it's on Central Time. So that's another plus there for us. Maybe we'll be there and not be impacted by an extra hour when we change time. I don't know. So I wanted to just point out those things to you. One of the other things that I did want to make an announcement of and a point of that we have our chief elected officials that are appointed by the judge executives of the 17 counties of our West Kentucky board coverage. And in that, we have them come together and meet, and they appoint a purchase chief elected official and a Penarol chief elected official. And Todd Cooper is the purchase, and then Steve Tribble, the judge of Christian County, is our Penarol one. And we wanted to thank Steve Tribble for his years of service in that. Once you get in that, it's hard to get out. He's been in that position since 2015 for us. He has a background when he worked with probation and parole to actually work with the programs that we had with the people that were coming out of our incarcerations and going into on-the-job training. And he had to appear in the project review process before the board, and that was during the Job Training Partnership Act days, and ask questions and made to give reports and all, just like he was a part of those activities. And I'm sure that he's glad he doesn't have to do that now. But we did want to thank him as he'll be leaving that position in December, and we'll be consulting with the chief executives to come up with a new chief elected official there for us. But thank you, Judge Tribble. We appreciate all your help and all those Zoom calls, as well as the travels that it took you there. And then Judge Cooper, we appreciate your ongoing help and all the times we call upon both of you in the past. But thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, we appreciate the 2 presentations that we had today on those topics. Those are kind of like late breaking news for us to talk about in our area. We're still a little certain that we'll be a part of the Senate Bill 90, but we're not quite sure what our role will be. Workforce is not a part of that state group, that board group, the governing group, but Workforce has committed their time and effort with adult ed leading that. So there's more to come on that effort in the future. Are there any questions from anyone?
Judge Tribble, would you like to address the board?
No, not really, other than just to say it's been my great honor to serve all these years. And I'll tell you, I'm leaving involuntarily. She said it was hard to get rid of somebody like me, with the people of Christian County figured it out. They have done it. But I just want you to know I'm not retiring. I'm going to get another job. Hell, I want to work. So workforce development, I may be talking to you guys about helping me find a job after the first of the year. Quit laughing, Bozarth. You know I'm serious. All right. But thank you for the opportunity to serve. I've enjoyed every bit of it. Hope I've helped a little bit.
You have, sir. Your calm demeanor and your courteous manners haven't gone unnoticed, and I appreciate all you've done. We all do.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other new business? Hearing none, the board will entertain another motion. Whatever.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I briefly introduce myself to the Western Kentucky Board? Hello, everyone. My name is Alishir Barikanoff, and I'm the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board's new Executive Director. And I wanted to attend today's Western Kentucky Workforce Board meeting. So thank you for inviting me. I listened, I learned a lot. And I want to thank the West Kentucky Board for submitting the metrics information, for submitting all the information for our annual narrative that we've sent over to the federal government. And I hope to continue working with Sheila and everyone with West Kentucky. But I just want to introduce myself as the new KWIB director, and I hope to continue growing ties with local boards. And thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We appreciate your attending and appreciate your input, and we look forward to working with you. Anybody else? It's nice to get these pleasant surprises. Hearing no other new business, is there a motion?
I move we adjourn. Steve Tribble
Hey,
needs to
Danny.
look for a job.
That's right. I second that.
Well, we'll have to see what his OJT looks like. We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I thought I did.
Second, Donnie.
Donnie, thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you all so much for your time and all the hard work that you do. If I don't talk to you beforehand, Merry Christmas. Bye.